In July alone, a record 210,000 migrants entered the U.S. along the border, often with the help of smugglers. Many of those putting their feet on American soil for the first time are said to be carrying COVID. Detention facilities out of space, agents overwhelmed, and border communities like McAllen, Texas, in a state of emergency.
It's an issue, and I keep on saying we shouldn't have to be dealing with.
As thousands of migrants per week, none vaccinated, make their first pit stop here.
In 1 week alone, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris released 1,500 illegal immigrants into McAllen who were COVID positive.
Across the entire southwest border, illegal crossings are at a 21-year high.
Judging from the number of people I'm seeing down here on Mexico's southern border in the city of Tapachula, those numbers could be about to get very much worse.
Swarms of people, including 19,000 plus unaccompanied children, turning themselves into agents in July.
Our drone video showing a massive group of illegal immigrants being held by Border Patrol under Ansel Duas Bridge. It's the largest group we have ever seen.
Critics are sounding the alarm across the country, blaming Biden's border policies.
They will defend the illegal immigrants against the right of Americans.
Day after day, hundreds of thousands of migrants landing in communities across the nation via planes, trains, and automobiles.
Why don't you get this border secure? And until you do that, I don't want to hear a blip about COVID from you.
But those blips aren't going away given the Delta variant.
People are dying and will die who don't have to die.
And if anything, the Biden administration and the CDC are focusing on unvaccinated and unmasked Americans.
Something supersedes that need to do exactly what you want to do,
while almost ignoring the border crisis. Actions like that causing some on the left to call for the president to impose order on the increasingly out-of-control migration.
The Washington Post editorial board is as liberal as they come, probably the most liberal paper in the nation, competing with the New York Times. They know that this is a politically toxic issue.
Agencies on the border report as many as 1 in 5 migrants are now showing up with COVID. The administration is reportedly preparing to help control it by offering them vaccines paid for by U.S. taxpayers.
Tara, what's behind this policy of simply sending thousands of these migrants to communities across the country?
Well, Andrew, you know, they almost never stay at the border once they cross. There are so many, they've got to fan them out across the country. They cannot all stay right there on the border. So we are already at well over 1 million people this year who have crossed illegally. We are on track now for 2 million. Now, we've seen this for ourselves in action on the border. They are dropped off by Border Patrol at the airports and the bus stations hour after hour, and then they leave for parts unknown. And since they no longer have to appear in court, they're going to remain living in the country, likely illegally, and then blending into the shadows. They've got no way to make a living. They have no English. It's tough on the taxpayers. It's tough for the migrants should they fall into the wrong hands. Why this is being allowed to happen with no apparent effort to stop it, or the criminal surely mixed in with them, but only the president knows for sure why this is being allowed to continue to happen. Andrew and Ashley. And
Tara, a simple question, perhaps a complex answer. Why aren't they being tested for COVID?
Well, again, you go back to the numbers. So you've got 20% of the migrants here coming with COVID. Those are only the ones we know about. It's not the people getting away from Border Patrol at an estimated number of 200,000 this year so far. Some are tested, but only if they have symptoms. So with the numbers, the reality is there's really no way to keep up with that. In McAllen, Texas, which we mentioned in the piece, out of nearly 88,000 migrants released into that city just since mid-February, more than 7,000 of them had COVID, passing through that one border town. They go to local hotel rooms paid for by taxpayers. They come and go as they please, no matter what, no supervision. They eat in the restaurants. There have been incidents with that. They shop, they mingle with other other people in the community, and nothing is stopping them. So the testing is all well and good, but what does it really mean? McAllen's put up some tents now to quarantine some of them, but that's a small portion of those coming over with the virus, and they don't stay for long. Interesting story. Both times we flew back from the border recently, there were empty seats on the plane. The flight attendants went back out to the gate where migrants were waiting in groups and brought them and filled those seats and filled up the plane. I asked 4 different people at American Airlines, were they tested for COVID? The airline has no idea and is not requiring any proof. So it's a real issue.
Well, Tara, I wanted to ask, who is actually doing the testing for those who are being tested?
Well, it is not Border Patrol. So in the case of McAllen, many of them are being tested by Catholic Charities. But again, the numbers are overwhelming. They also don't necessarily go to McAllen. These other communities, there may be no testing at all. If they're symptomatic, they're referred to healthcare providers in the community. But again, how many are you missing and how many are asymptomatic?
Yeah. Well, one thing no one has been talking about lately is the potential for terrorists to infiltrate the U.S. through the porous southern border. What can you tell us about that?
Well, terrorism, of course, has long been a concern, but as they pour over the border, they could be mixed in. That has actually been articulated by Border Patrol a number of times. So Border Patrol has encountered people now from at least 70 countries since this all started back in, February. So from places like Pakistan, China, India, and a lot more. Authorities say there is no question al-Qaeda and the Taliban are going to feel even more emboldened now and will try to take more advantage on the border as all the eyes now are on the situation in Afghanistan. And by the way, I am hearing that Afghans fleeing the Taliban are headed to, among other places in Texas, they're going to the border.
All right, Tara, we certainly appreciate your reporting. And of course, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
You can get all the latest news and more when you download the CBN News Channel app.
Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more encouraging videos like this one. Welcome to the 700 Club Interactive family, and God bless you.